resistive sensors. Basically, we have already completed the first part of this course, rather the module 1 of this course, that is the basic introductions and the fundamentals of measurement theory. I think we have also solved some problems which will make it clear, the theory and concept. So we now go into the core instrumentation devices. Basically, the what are the devices we will be discussing which are used for instrument. And we have already said all that these are, suppose the sensors, they can be classified into two categories. One is called active sensor, one is called passive sensor. So active sensor, they do not require any external power supply to operate. It is, they are all self-generating type. We have already mentioned thermocouple is an active sensor. Similarly, a pH sensor, pH electrode is an active sensor where depending upon the pH value of the solution, we get some voltage across the two electrodes of the pH probe. Similarly, there are few other active sensors. We will be discussing this one. But most of the sensors are passive sensors, what we call it. The passive sensor means the they require to operate them, they require some external supply. They require some external supply there. That means we need to excite it by some external voltage or current source. And depending upon the physical parameter, it is exposed to the some of the electrical parameters of the sensor changes. It may be resistive, it may be inductive, it may be capacitive. So we can say the passive sensor we can group into three types. One is resistive, one is inductive, and one is capacitive. So the advantage of this one is, you cannot see it. This sort of classification is that the resistive sensor may be used for displacement measurement, may be used for temperature measurement, may be used for pressure measurement or many other things there. But their signal conditioning circuits are almost similar. So that's the advantage of it. So while we'll be first discussing into this way the resistive sensor, inductive sensor, capacitive sensor, because these are the three electrical parameters we find often that they change in those sensors. They change with the input, physical input we give it like this. And their signal conditioning circuits for each group are more or less similar. So it is easy to explain and understand the operation of it. So these resistive sensors we'll start with, and we'll find there are a number of resistive sensors. One is potentiometer, which we have already mentioned. We have discussed this one because it could be a simple potentiometer, could be a distance measurement type. One is resistive temperature detector, or in short we call them RTD. it could be thermistor, it could be strain gauge, it could be hot wire anemometer, it could be what you can say light detecting resistance, or simply we call them LDR. So this potentiometer may be used for displacement measurement. RTD may be used for temperature measurement. Thermistor used for temperature measurement. Strain gauge is used for strain or pressure or force measurement. Hot wire anemometer is used for flow measurement. Light detecting resistance or LDR, which where the resistance changes with the incoming light here. Actually, you will find they are used for light intensity measurement. So whatever may be the there, type with it, but finally whatever the physical variable do they measure, but we can say that they are all resistive sensors, where finally the whatever input is that outcome is that change in resistance, but the change of resistance may be very small, may be high, maybe in resistance increasing with the input, resistance decreasing with the input in a linear manner or in a non-linear manner. So several types of things are there. We need to see that one. But broadly, all of them together, we call them resistive sensors. So first one, the potentiometer, we have already discussed. So we have already discussed the potentiometer is a simple way for measurement of angle or displacement. Okay, okay. So this is your, I will call it E0 better. E0 is equal to xi divided by xt into capital E. That is a, if it is a linear potentiometer, the with the displacement, this is a movement of the potentiometer y part. With the displacement, we can measure, I mean, the voltage output will be linearly dependent of this one. Or if it is an angular type, so what we can have an angular type also like this. So here you give your input and here you get some output voltage easy. So this is your angle theta I, and so we can also write it in an angular way. This is theta I divided by theta t into E. So it could be used for displacement measurement, angle measurement, and it is very linear and very simple there. But what are the negative points in it? We have already seen that the major problem of the potentiometers, the advantage we can say, the simple in construction. So when we discuss this one, we'll always try to see what are their advantages and disadvantages. One is simple in construction, but even though it is the simple in construction, circuit is very simple and here there, but it has got certain disadvantages. I will call it disadvantages. That we have already, first of all, we said that is the loading effect. We have already mentioned that this is your xi by xt and this is your E0 by E. We say that this should be ideally it is like this, and we have seen that dependent upon the meter, Rm is the meter resistance. And if we call this resistance RT, so we will find that so this is increasing Rm. So if Rm, the meter resistance, is infinite, it will get a perfect linear one. But if the meter resistance is decreasing compared to obviously the RT, the potentiometer total resistance, it will cause you the nonlinearity. And we say that this is due to the loading effect, which we have already discussed in detail. Apart from that, there are several disadvantages also. Which is what the potentiometer is not a very priority or very popular instrument or a sensor there. So disadvantage 2, wear and tear, because whenever this is the potentiometer contact which comes in touch with it like this. But if we use for a long time, definitely the contact between the resistance and this Y part, which is called the Y part, the contact sometimes becomes very loose, and also so that contact resistance changes with time, and particularly due to the year of dirt, accumulation of dirt, and etc. So this is the biggest problem. And these all give you good amount of noise in the circuit it will produce, and that's why this wear and tear is a big problem, and that basically reduces almost the potentiometer, the use of potentiometer in practical as a practical sense. Otherwise, okay, potentiometer for simple your lab circuit you can use it, but that's not a very in an industrial situation. This is not in much of preferred. It is not of a very preferred sense there. So I will not discuss further with it. So simple in construction, but not preferred because the wear and tear out of it. So next we will go for RTD, which we call it resistance temperature detector, Sometimes they are called also resistance thermometers also, or rather the metallic resistance thermometer. Metal resistance thermometers also. So what we mean to say by this one is that they are made of metallic wires or metals, and they are with metal we know the temperature changes, and with the temperature change the metal resistance also changes. So naturally this is what, if by measuring the resistance we can measure or we can relate it with the temperature. So that is what we call it, and all the metals, the resistance changes, resistance increases with the temperature. But not often all of them changes linearly. In fact, we will find that they are expressed in this way, that is RT is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha 1 t plus alpha 2 t square plus etc. Where R0 is the resistance at 0 degrees Celsius, RT is equal to resistance at T degrees Celsius, and alpha 1, alpha 2 are constants. So these are constants, and like this there, and often, okay, and mostly we will find the popular materials, those who are used for temperature measurements, most of them have got nonlinear characteristics. Say for example, okay, I make it 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, and here it is say 0 degrees Celsius, 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degree, and say 600 degree Celsius. Among them, nickel is a very high sensitive one, but we find it is non-linear characteristics. So that is a point, is that it is totally non-linear characteristics. It's not a very, but it is a high sensitive one. But on the other hand, copper, this one is basically, I think it would be a slightly, just you don't draw it right now. Actually, its linear is about 250 degrees Celsius. This is your copper, and your platinum is a comparatively linear characteristics here. So in fact, platinum, the sensitivity is less. So platinum it's linear up to 650 degrees Celsius, and very useful, a wide range, but definitely platinum cost is little bit higher, cost is higher. So naturally platinum, this is the problem there. But of, well, I will tell you like this there. Then it is copper. It is moderate sensitivity but linear characteristics up to 250 degree Celsius. And this is nickel, which is a nonlinear characteristics. Of course, it is a nonlinear character. Sorry, and it is useful range is 0 to 300 degrees Celsius. So this is what we have it. So these are the mostly three materials which are used for measurement of resistance, temperature, which we call it under the RTD, resistance temperature detector, and they are copper, platinum, and nickel. And in the linear range, we often denote that RT is equal to R0 into 1 plus alpha T. This is the standard way for doing it like this. And we know, okay, alpha 1, if you want to say alpha 1 also, we'll do. And this for platinum, the alpha 1 for platinum, it is at 0 degrees Celsius for platinum, it is 0.00392. Can you see it? Okay. Per degree Celsius, and alpha 1 at 0 degrees Celsius for copper, it is 0.00427 per degree Celsius. So these are the 2A, but nickel is nonlinear, is not, we cannot really define it properly or like this. So copper and platinum are the two useful RTDs, but copper is used for low temperature up to 320, 250 or something, and its sensitivity is higher. But the platinum has got a lower sensitivity, but here the linear, it is almost linear for all the ranges, that is up to 0 to 650 degrees Celsius. Often we will find a commercial RTD that is called a PT100 RTD, which is always, we can, from this one name itself, we will be able to understand what is that, what is the material is platinum, and resistance at 0 degrees Celsius is equal to 100 degrees Celsius. So PT100 is a very popular type of temperature RTD there. It has got a wide range of linear temperature measurement, and so it is often used for as an RTD for this temperature area. Okay. Now, obviously, there is nothing much to say about this one, but what we need is the construction. Okay, I know the RTD material is there, and definitely if we want to have a resistance of 100 ohm or like this, the wire must be very thin. Otherwise, we cannot make with a metal, we cannot make a 100 ohm resistance or like this. So what we require, how the construction we do it is that, how would you wind the wire and this is also very important, that in industrial situation, that that first of all it should not be contaminated, the resistance wear, as well as it should not be the mechanically, we should protect it from hazards or there breakage and etc. And the resistance must be protected properly. And that's why the construction, if we try to get it, that I will tell you what are the reasons behind him, but I will first let me draw these things, then we will be able to. So, let me draw and then I will be able to explain it to you properly. So, first of all, this wear, so you can easily see this is the wear. This wear is wound, and this is wound over a mica former. So there is a mica former like this there, and the wears are loose wound there. So we can, and second thing is also there, where that this wear are loosely wound wear. So why do you say loosely wound wear? Because we know also at the same time, if the temperature changes, the dimension of the wear, length of the wear also changes. It is always we need to make it sure that it does not cause any temperature, the length change does not cause any strain involved, because with strain again the resistance changes. So if we have a loosely coiled wear, no wear will feel any strain or like this there, and this should be, and the change in resistance will be due to only the change in temperature, not for any other strains. And second thing, as I told, this wear is a very small, thin wear, and naturally it should be protected from outside the air, because in industrial situations. So what we do is that they are put in stainless steel. Inside a stainless steel, what we call it a well. That means some stainless steel tube is there, and which is put inside. Actually, this stainless steel, these are all enclosed to this one, so that this stainless steel tube or this well can be inserted inside the furnace or the any oil furnace, or in as such any boiler or like this, so that those external flame or shoot or any other things do not damage the area. And obviously, here we will require this gap between them is filled up with mica powder. This one, the gap between the well and the RTD and all the things. Why mica powder? Because we know the mica is good thermal conductor, but very bad electrical conductor. It's basically an insulator. So the point is that if we put them inside a mica, fill this gap with some mica powder, and so the heat comes from outside to the stainless steel. So the heat gets transmitted to the mica former and subsequently with the resistive wears there, and then definitely we so the quickly it can be transferred there and without any damage. So basically the construction of this one, and finally we will look into this one, the whole thing will leaks into something like this. These wears are coming out and this is your RTD. This is the well called the head and this is your well, and these two together you get the RTD, and which can be readily inserted into these things. Okay. So we have seen that the platinum, so we go for the methods of measurement. We have seen that platinum, alpha platinum is equal to 0.00392 per degree Celsius. So if we have a platinum resistance of R at 0 degrees Celsius is equal to say 100 ohm. So what is of R at 100 degrees Celsius? Can you tell me? This will be 100 into 1 plus 100 into 0.00392. So it comes to be 139.2 ohm there. Okay. And for copper it is 40. So mind it, the change is 39%. The change is 39% there. And for copper it is more, it is 42%, or like this there. But the thing is that next our point is that what will be the signal conditioning schemes? So first thing is that what would be the, if we want to measure the resistance, and resistance values is in the order of 100 ohm and something there, what we will do, we will always say what is the preferred signal conditioning circuit is basically a bridge. Okay. It's a bridge, Wheatstone's bridge, basically unbalanced Wheatstone bridge we have here. So we can say that this is the resistance, 3 fixed resistance, and this is your RTD, R0 into 1 plus alpha T, R0, R0, and this is the voltage you apply like this. Okay, so this is the simple circuit for temperature measurement with this RTD. But will be, if I try to plot in this case, the T is the temperature and E0 by as the output. Will it be a linear characteristics? And say suppose the temperature range is, say, I just put it in this way, 100 degrees Celsius, maybe 200 we can go for it, but rather it is 100 degrees Celsius is sufficient for that. Will the E0 versus T characteristics be linear? Yes, I want the answer from the students. Will it be linear? Kaiser, what is your opinion? Yes? Anish Pal, what is your opinion? Okay. What is, yes, Kaiser, what is your, no sir means what? No opinion. Tell me, you unmute yourself. Sir Anish Pal, and my question is that will the characteristics, say suppose I change the value from T to say suppose 100 degrees Celsius itself and E0, I keep everything there, will it be linear or not?
So
Yes.
non-linear.
Why?
Sir, in the tutorial there was one question like R01 plus X. So variation with that X was non-linear.
That's right. If we see that this was the V0 versus T characteristics is non-linear if we had said that X was less than 0.1, that is the 10% there. Okay, but it was non-linear for other things there. But in this case, for platinum ware, what is the X, the percentage change in this case? It is 39.2% for 100 degrees Celsius itself. So what it would be? That is, the characteristics will be non-linear and this will be like this for this sort of configuration. So it is a non-linear characteristics. We will have it. But at the same time, we know that the bridge arm ratio is 1 and unity bridge arm ratio gives you the maximum sensitivity. That is E0 by E will be maximum if the unity bridge arm ratio is unity for this thing. So naturally, there is a contradiction here. That is, if we want to make the sensitivity highest, I will have to go for arm ratio 1, but that will cause you non-linearity. That will cause you the non-linearity in characteristics. So again, that to compensate that non-linearity, we will have to take additional care and some additional circuit and solve the things, which is not desired. I would suggest that we should have a linear characteristics at the signal conditioning level at all. So what can be done? Can you suggest? What can be done? So the problem is that bridge is a good idea, but the problem is that in a bridge, if we want to have it use the bridge at a unity arm ratio, the sensitivity will be maximum indeed, but the nonlinearity there will be a good amount of nonlinearity. We can also calculate what is the nonlinearity there, and that will be a good amount of nonlinearity here, and that will be definitely what we call it a disadvantage of this scheme. So what is the way out? Can anyone suggest? What are the way outs? Yes,
So we can increase the bridge arm ratio.
we can increase. Saurabh, what you are telling? You can increase
So arm ratio.
arm ratio. Very good. So what we can say, that increase the arm ratio. We have seen that it is x is equal to, or rather it is x is equal to 1, rather the arm ratio is equal to 1. And we can have this sort here, arm ratio is equal to 10. So if we make arm ratio equal to 10 or even higher, it would be more and more linear, which we have already seen it in our tutorial class. But the sensitivity will be lower, but at the same time we can say, and anyway, we will have to amplify the voltage. Anyway, we have to amplify the voltage, and but so we can, the loss of sensitivity we can overcome by making the by making the amplifier gain higher, and then we can regain the Wheatstone the linearity there. And the next one is that use some linearizing circuit. What is that? We have already mentioned that we need to amplify the bridge voltage, but if we configure the bridge, so there are many ways for this one. I can make it, say suppose the first circuit is that I have already told you. Actually, this is one tutorial problem we have given it. So we have shown that we can make some op-amp, because we need to amplify anyway, or like this, by using some active component and assuming ideal op-amp. We can say that this is equal to, we have already got it, na? Minus of E by 2 into X. Okay. So this is one of the thing is there, that okay, we have make a linearizing circuit using some sort of op-amp or like this, almost just modify the bridge. You just modify the bridge configuration in different slightly, and we can use an active element like op-amp. And assuming the op-amp to be ideal one, we can get always the E0 proportional to X. But this is not the only scheme. We will be seeing there are many other schemes, but basically they all can be categorized that some of the linearizing schemes with RTD or resistive one, where we have uh, non-linear characteristics. So the point is that we see that the RTD in this case, the RTD characteristics is linear, I am assuming. But bridge circuit characteristics is nonlinear. So these two together make the character A to be nonlinear in general case. But if I make some sort of changes, that this bridge output can be proportional to the linear RTT. But obviously we may say there are, this is obviously it is using an ideal op-amp, but there would be some bias voltage like this, IB minus, IB plus, like this, and they will always cause you and the offset voltage or like this there. So definitely this may not be a very good scheme, uh, and okay, theoretically it is fine, but if you apply, if you do it, you may not find that it is exactly non-linear, and some more errors may crop in. So we will look for few more circuits and in few more schemes there, where the bridge circuit can be linear, linearized, and overall bridge will be much more linear there. I don't think I have more time. So, okay, I will just draw another scheme and quickly ask you or try it to solve another scheme which is more practical actually. This is employed by analog device. This was the second scheme which we are telling it. It's by analog device and it is inserted into a signal conditioning circuit there, in a chip there. So you can see there are several innovations you can have it. I am lighting 1 plus x itself because I know the RTD, I am considering it to be linear there. Okay, please draw it. What is there is that this RTD, a bridge is there, but there is a feedback arrangement that V input is decided by the output voltage E0 there. So the bridge output voltage is first amplified by a differential amplifier, maybe an instrumentation amplifier, and then it is the output voltage E0 and goes to some potentiometer there. And this potentiometer, if it gets by setting this one, we make it, say, suppose beta into E0. And this is a schematic diagram, so I am not showing all the things there. So here is a supply voltage, a resistance, and a Zener diode, which gives you some V reference voltage. And at this point, we inject some more voltage at this point. So that ultimately, so that this scheme is a schematic diagram, complete scheme is not shown, but ultimately this is V in is equal to V reference plus of BE0. Plus of BE0, beta E0, and I claim by proper choice of K and beta, it can be completely linearized. I leave it to you to see it, very simple, to see what should be the proper values of K and beta such that this bridge nonlinearity is removed and it is completely linear. Okay, I stop here. You try it, we may discuss on tomorrow, but this is one way of, there are several schemes there. I have already given, I think, one or two, but you can see it in books, particularly Franco's book. I think you must be familiar with this book by Franco, Analog, I think, I don't remember. There are several problems given for this removal of bridge nonlinearity using active elements. Is there any question? I stop it here. Tomorrow, if you are not being able to, I will discuss this. Any question? If it is not, then I will stop here. Thank you. All the best.